welcome back to another episode of Your Frequently Asked Scottish Golf Questions. Starting the episode like we do every episode with a dram of whiskey from Scotland. This one's jumping back to one of my favorites, Oban 14, West Coast, just absolutely a great whiskey. But we're really here for the golf, and today we're going to be talking about taking a golf trip to Scotland as a single golfer, so not with a group of players. It's something I get asked about a lot. And the answers to some of the questions that come up playing as a single aren't always straightforward. So let's jump right in. First things first, let's talk about accommodation. That's something that comes up. You're traveling as a single. That pretty much eliminates renting an apartment or renting a home. That really only makes sense when there's a large group of people, unless you've just got crazy budget and you want a whole place to yourself, or you want to look at renting a one-bedroom apartment. I would suggest going for an Airbnb if you're going for the one-bedroom apartment rental option. But what I would really suggest is probably going through a B&B. Anywhere you go in Scotland, there are great local B&Bs. I have met some great people through them, and that's really the main point. You're meeting a lot of local people, other locals working there, other golfers staying there. And when you're a single, one of the keys is meeting people and hopefully going out to play some golf with them. So your main goal should be finding someone else to play golf with, and having friends and making new friends helps you enjoy the trip more. Being alone the whole time isn't very fun. The accommodation point kind of segues right into the tee times. It's going to be really hard at any Scottish golf club to make a tee time as a single golfer. In most cases, they won't allow bookings for singles, and what you'll need to do is likely contact the golf course not through their online booking system, but by emailing the pro shop. And I would write them and say, hey, I'm a single golfer coming over. I'm a 10 handicap or whatever you are. I love playing golf with friends. Could you set me up with a member or someone from the pro shop staff to play with? And more often than not, as long as it's not ultra peak times, they will pair you up with somebody. So that's a really, really good option. It allows you to go in there and have a kind of the full experience, not being out there just alone. And you have somebody to show you around the course, and hopefully a new friend at the end of it. But write those pro shops, write them, say, hey, do you have a member I could play with? You'd be surprised at how often people want to show off their clubs, and it really makes sense. A lot of really, really friendly people just want a game on a Saturday morning or a game on a weekday afternoon. So write, ask, find out. Otherwise, making a booking yourself is going to be really hard. The other thing you can do at a course like the old course would be a really good example of this, would be wait around the first tee. And you hear jokes about, the golf beggars around the first tee of the old course. It's basically guys who want to go out there, play around a golf. They want to pair up with a twosome or threesome. On the old course in particular, you would need to have lined up very early in the morning, and I've done another video that I'll link in the description below about the old course ballot and how to get in as a single. So again, you're going to pair up with people. Same goes for any course in Scotland. If you talk to the starter, more often than not, they're happy to put you in touch with a twosome or a threesome. You can complete that group, make new friends at the end of it. But playing as a single is going to be really tough. Most places aren't okay with just single golfers going out there. And if you think about what Scottish golf's really about the friendships and match play and having pints afterwards, or single golf doesn't really factor into that. So hanging around the first tee is another option. Transportation is something to think about as well. It's really a case where car rental is likely going to be your best choice. You won't be able to split those costs among other people, obviously, since it's just you. But car rental's easy. You're able to get yourself around. It doesn't really make sense to go with a transportation company where you have a driver and bus because it's just you. So I would look at renting a car. Another option is public transportation with a combination of taxis, particularly if you're going to stay in one area, as I encourage people to do, stay in one area and do day trips out from there. You can get public transportation from major point to major point, and then a taxi from that station to the golf course. A great example would be getting from Edinburgh to St. Andrews. You can get the train to Lukers, which is the station closest to St. Andrews. It's about 10 miles away. Get off that train, get off at Lukers, get a taxi in. It ends up being very cost effective, and if you're willing to do a little bit of research, it can be a very easy option. In fact, it's how I got around St. Andrews area and just Scotland as a whole for the 4 years I was there. I didn't have a car, so a lot of public transportation, a lot of taxis where you couldn't get a bus or train directly to a station. So you've got those options as well, but really between car rental and public transportation, those are your best if you're a single golfer. A final point that kind of fits into the tee time point and the accommodation point is, where do you eat? You know, you don't really want to fly solo to a nice restaurant and just sit there, you know, with a glass of wine, you know, crying into your soup because you're alone. This is where Scotland really, really takes off and comes into its own. Go to the pubs. They're unbelievably social. You know, you hear stories about Irish pubs. Scottish pubs are the same. And the reason it ties in so well is you're meeting tons of people. And I can't tell you how many times I've been in St. Andrews. You've got, you know, tables talking to one another. You've got a guy saying, hey, you know, we got into the ballad. Oh, you're a single? Well, come on down, you know, join us. We'll talk to the starter in the morning later. Or, hey, we've got a tea time at Kingsbarns. Heck, even when I was in Australia a few weeks ago, and ended up talking to a guy who had been a single golfer going over to Scotland, and a group had a friend bow out due to injury, and he had already prepaid for all his tee times. So this guy just slipped in there and played Muirfield, Turnberry, where else? I believe Prestwick as well, you know, just slotting in with some group, brand new friends he had made in a pub. So eat those pub meals, you know, eat wherever you want. There's some absolutely great food, but the pubs have this social kind of buzz going on, and you can meet some really cool people, make a lot of new friends. I highly recommend it. So those are the basics of going to Scotland as a single. It's very doable. Just think, be social. If you have any questions or want any advice or want me to put you in touch with people, I'll help where I can. Whether it's just a quick email or whether it's through the Scottish Golf Trip Consulting Services on my site. I'll put both of those in the description below and link those up. I'm always happy to talk golf, always happy to help people out. But if you're going over to Scotland, good luck. Shoot me an email. Let me know how it goes. I love talking about it. So good luck. Have a good trip. Cheers.